So we're doing a few lessons and we've got Ray to join us on these, which I'm quite enjoying because I do think it shows, you know, the average golfer's kind of faults a bit more, doesn't it? Yeah. So we're going to talk long putting today, Ray. If you look at some of the stats from ShotScope, like long putting is such low hanging fruit losses for handicap golfers. How would you class your long putting if you were to mark it out of 10? 5. Okay, so let's just put that into, how would you class your driving?
Last couple of years, good. So like, in comparison to what it was, 7.
Okay, how would, yeah, okay, I'm happy with that. How would you class Ray's long putting, Matt? Would you be happy with 5?
3 or 4.
Yeah, I'm 1 or 2.
Are you? Oh, that's really harsh.
Well, whenever we get in a situation where there's a long putt, I am pretty sure Ray's not going to 2-putt it.
Yeah. Well,
and he does, but I am pretty sure, and the ones he does 2-putt, he's often holding the 10-footer.
Yeah.
The 15-footer.
There's not normally like a pick that up, is there?
There ain't that many pick-em-ups. No. So we're going to do a little game and show you some ideas that we could share with Ray that might just save your long putting and help you save some shots. We'll run some stats of how many free putts people have per hole or per 18 holes. But like high handicappers are having in the region of 4 free putts per round. So we've got a long putt right up the hill. Line, Ray, where are you just seeing the line out of interest? Add it. Okay, yeah. Cool. I'm happy. How, Matt? Just a question for Matt here, and this is neat because I would class myself as a good long putter.
Yeah. Like you're 8, 9, 10 out.
It's always been one of my skills, and has to be otherwise because of my distance. Otherwise, no point. There was never any point me trying to compete at the level I wanted to compete at because I was getting a lot of these. I have a real general line on long putts. I'm just in the region, up the left.
Yeah, I'm not being picky.
I'm not
here.
2 balls, 3 balls, left lip, which I am when I get within 12-foot kind of range.
Like, I think like Ray pretty straight to maybe slightly right side of the pin, but not a lot is what I'm seeing now. Cool. I'm not picking like 2 inches outside the rough.
It's a real general. I am so focused on getting it within my 2 paces of the hole, which we'll show in a second. Hit one, Ray. Let's see how you come out.
You've got 1% chance of making this on the stats.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
We've measured my strike with putter as well in the past, haven't we? And it's not great.
No, which makes this really hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we'll talk about some ideas of what might help you with that.
Yeah, pace control when you're not hitting it in the middle of the putter isn't easy.
No.
I struggle with slope as well, don't I?
Yeah, I guess I just think you struggle with pace control, and slope is another variation that's asking a bigger question, possibly of pace control. We'll walk up there and see where that one's finished. So you want to get it within 2 paces, raise your goal. So if you do your 2 paces, you can see he's a good 3.5 to 4 paces.
10 feet away, 11 feet away.
Yeah.
He's 4-foot steps, which is 10 feet basically.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean that needs improving. That's a long day. You could hit 2 when this hole's into the wind like it is but strong. You could hit 2 good shots there and you're definitely struggling. Let's have a look at your technique and see if we can help it. So the biggest thing I see with long putting for amateurs is they still apply so much the theory of putting to this big long stroke that doesn't resemble putting. So for me, you know, this shot is so much about trying to get this blade moving, the putt head moving as fast as I can. And I honestly, that's a weak one, but I honestly feel with one hand I could actually get this as good within practice as I could with 2.
Yeah.
I let the club go, I've got a bit of release, I just think I can get it up there. I don't need 2 hands. I certainly don't need reverse grips. Like my dad was doing this with this.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dad, what are you doing? Like, I couldn't get enough power with that. And I literally got him to just stand open. I said, just stand where you want, grip it 10 finger, little bit of wrist flick and just like flick it forwards. His pace control just transformed. Because he was now only thinking about pace. Because direction here, you've got 2 paces, left, right, short, long. So your control of the face, open and closed, is not quite as important as when you get to that 10-foot one where you're going to really show up a little 1-2 degree move of the face. So let's try again. I wonder how good you are with one hand. We'll try.
Yeah.
You'd hold down the handle a bit, like where your right hand is. Stand however you want, like get comfy. And see if you can feel the distance just with your right hand. Like this is like I would never get you to putt like this, but it's an interesting drill to show you possibly. Now if you just start thinking about distance, and another one, so that's too hard.
That's hard again, but
Good line.
Decent.
It shows you as well that you don't need the cack-handedness to control the face, do you? That's one hand.
yeah, we were talking a minute ago. I went to cack-handed. I was running away from the yips years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like the yips are quite there anymore. But
No.
for some reason I've stuck with that. It's just kind of what I'm used
I
to.
like cack-handed, but I do think it lacks a little bit of power.
Mm.
Well, I was just saying to Matt as well, it's weird because, like, in my brain, just because I'm on the green, I go to my putting technique. But
Yeah,
if I
but
was putting from here,
You wouldn't.
it's like a chip shot. and
That's
I'd
my
probably-
point.
yeah.
People go long putts and they start going into like, right, pendulum, knee still,
Yeah.
rock the shoulders, and this isn't. This is a long putt. You need to get the club moving. It needs a bit of wrist break, soft hands. It needs a little bit of.
Like
feeling
those
of
last
distance.
two are good strikes too, and they're
Yeah. Last one's a good. Last
That's
one's
a good one.
Within your 2 paces.
yep.
And the last one also suggests the other biggest thing, right? To be honest with yourself, and I know your answer, but anyone watching as well can think about this. How often through your golfing life have you practiced long putting? I don't mean when you're playing. Let's just take playing golf as that's playing.
Yeah.
How often have you gone, right, I'll move that ball to a long place, or I'll go on a putting green and never?
You all know and get frustrated that I don't practice.
Yeah.
Mm.
I find it mind-numbingly boring.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to practice anything, it's probably not going to be
The long putts,
something
'cause-
as boring as long putting.
Yeah, where I would be the opposite to that.
Yeah.
Long
I used to
putting.
spend 4 or 5 hours on the putting green
Yeah.
when I was younger.
Yeah. To expect to
Like,
understand
yeah.
how hard to hit putts if you're not practicing
Yeah.
long putts is a preposterous thing to think, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
You've got to start applying some.
Got to get some data in there, haven't you?
Yeah, some data, and this is another point with the data, right, which I think is really interesting because people say, well, different greens are different paces, okay?
Yeah.
Which is true, and you would need to learn to hit it a little harder on the slower greens and on the quicker greens a little softer. But you can do it on any pace greens because the skill is more. If I've got a putt which is X length, I move the putter X speed, and then if I move X further back or closer, I move the putter X speed. The skill is being able to adapt those speeds to the different lengths regardless of the speed of the putt.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, having more practice on quicker and slow greens will help you, but I don't particularly get on a quick green and practice long putts and think this isn't doing anything. I think no, it's doing loads. It's training me to think, oh, I need to hit it about this hard in relationship to that hard, in relationship to that distance, and then I'm equivalenting up for the slower greens, if that makes sense.
Adapting, yeah, exactly.
That's inside your 2 paces. That
Yeah.
was your third one, so
Yep.
you obviously did it. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is about the same distance as you did with cack-handed. And this one is a bit further, but apart from the slope and working in, I don't think you've got much more of a chance of holding this one to your first one.
Yeah.
I would definitely like to see you loosen up with your long putting and forget putting.
Yep.
It's distance, it's roll, it's like this, it's like bowls, it's
Yeah.
not this precision game anymore. It's much more, can I move that at the right speed? So let's do a couple more to finish. So how would you grip it if you wanted to grip it 2 hands? Sorry, regular side round, yeah. Why don't you grip it just 10 finger? Get rid of any locking.
Yeah.
And just
So
like
ironically, that's how I do
a
full
chip shot.
shots.
Yeah, so do it like a full shot. Let's see what that feels like if it gets the feel of the speed of the putter a bit better. Like people do it these pass, but generally I would argue they're way short.
Like that.
Miles out the toe.
It's
Yep.
pretty
But-
decent weight, just
Not a bad
rubbish.
putt from that distance. Get the ball slightly forward, Ray, as well, so you just get it a little bit more on the level part of your stroke.
That's a good putt.
Yeah.
Good weight.
Really good. Yeah, that's a good putt.
Go in.
That's just a good putt.
Good putt.
So if we look at those 3,
Yeah.
so one of them's not even 1 pace. That one's now, I would give it within your 2, and this one is slightly outside. So there's 2 things here. Yeah, you could say, oh look, you know, he's had a lesson and the technique. Mark's clever because he's like improved his technique. I wouldn't even say it's anything to do with that. There's an idea for you to think about. There's an idea for you to play with. Am I better this way than this way? Like, I don't care if I see you doing it this way as long as you get your pace right. I just see a repeatable pattern of people going a bit putting technique, so I quite like a softened off, little more wristy, flicky, get some distance technique. But I'm not saying that's right, that's where you would need to practice. The other big thing I think this shows is this is your third set of 3 putts almost.
Yeah.
Or however many were here.
Yeah.
So I'm learning the putt.
Just practice.
Yeah.
Data
Because
going in.
it's exactly the same as your iron player aiming in the right spot. You're going to have a shotgun pattern or a dispersion from whatever distance, including your putter, and you just need to get this tighter.
Yeah.
The better you are at getting if you hit 100 putts there and they were all within your 2 footsteps, you're
taking that to the course.
Yeah, you're going to be
Taking that
good.
to the bank.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, would you try and leave it below the hole and get above it? Because
No.
this green is amazingly pitched. So, like this hard left to righter, you would argue might be harder than this straight up the hill. Well, straight up the hill would be about here. So, is that something you would do with a long putt? And in the audience, in the comments down below, is that something you would try and do with a long putt?
No, because my pace control is not good enough to have that conversation in my head anyway.
Now, would you say that answer knowing that I was going to say that? Do you know what I'm saying? So you,
Yeah.
Rory spends a lot of time
Pete-
with us. He knows what
yeah.
I'm saying. Look at your dispersion of your 3 better ones. To you to think you're, and I know you don't because you just said it, but I hear lots of students say it. To think you're good enough to try and leave it above or below the hole.
Yeah.
I was going to say that at the start of the video, that just from like living on social media in the golf industry, I know that people's perceptions of their putting is quite delusions of grandeur, I think could be a fair way of describing it. Because
Just
I
get it
think
as
if people
close as possible.
It's like people get really shocked by like statistics from like PGA Tour players.
Yeah.
Like they think they're miles better than they are. They're not.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they relate that to their own game. It's like actually if you knew the numbers, you'd be more realistic.
If you try and keep that below the hole, you're going to average further away, you'll find. And that's again a test you can try. You know, practice them more, everyone. You included. When you get out here, like you want to practice your chips, do that, but hit a few long putts if you've got the time as well. Definitely get away from the rigidness of a putting stroke when it goes to the long ones. The putter head just needs to move at a certain speed. Another little thing for you, Ray, which you could practice, you don't need to do it on camera. You were quite picky uppy, looked like you were hitting down, they looked like they were being rammed into the ground a bit. That's why I got you to push the ball a bit further forward. Little bit of wrist, but you can still keep the putter head maybe a little lower.
Lower to the ground.
So you want to, I would feel like a long putt, like I'm going to launch it. This putter has 2 to 3 degrees of loft. I'm going to try and use a bit of that. I am not going to be going into the ground. I want to almost hit like a chip and run with it.
Yeah.
I'm not, that's my feeling.
Yeah.
So you practicing and getting a bit more distance on a consistent launch. I know it sounds silly in a putter, but there is a consistent launch. Again, that's only going to help. You would definitely looked a little bit like you were hitting like a down chip shot. So just try and launch it.
That relates to that thing we were talking about when we did the chipping as well, wasn't it? Like my perception of my ball position is wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you're saying move it forward, I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, that
it feels
out
out
here.
there. Yeah.
But actually, it's just moving it more towards the middle.
Absolutely. Feel it, hit it as close as you can. Don't hit it over here because this putt's desperately tough. Or hit it as close as you can.